Isolation Day 8. Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well being cooped up at home. I guess when I started this I called it self-isolation, didn't I? And the name of the vlog is still self-isolation. I think I'll change that because it really should just be isolation. Everyone else is in isolation, so it's not really self-imposed anymore. I'll get on to food and exercise and everything else today, but I thought the first thing I wanted to talk about was stress, really. I've found over the years that stress affects me in different ways. I've become quite used to working long hours, being stressed at work. It doesn't appear to affect my blood sugars too much anymore. I'm relatively relaxed about stuff like that, although things do rile me up at times. But the stress that I'm talking about is the stress with your blood sugars. So I find that winds me up more than anything. And maybe that's because I deal with figures. I did a kind of exercise a couple of years ago where I did exactly the same thing. I went to bed at exactly the same time. I got up at exactly the same time. I ate the same things. The weather was the same each day, and yet I had three completely different reactions for my blood. One day my blood went down in the morning, one day it was level, one day it went up. That was the time before I had the insulin pump, so it wasn't a couple of years ago, it was quite a few years ago. The problem with that is the part of my brain is it always tells me that I should be able to control this. Lots of people say you can't be that way inclined, you can't be that tough on yourself, but I am, and I have been for for an awful long time. I think I should be able to master this. I think I should be able to control it. I mean, it's figures, it's data. I should be able to understand it doing the job I do, and I still struggle. I struggle on a daily basis. I struggle sometimes on an hourly basis. Today was an interesting one. I'll get onto the readings a bit later, but what I wanted to say was types of stress affects people in different ways. I find, interestingly, when I'm playing poker, my blood sugars increase. So as your adrenaline goes, as that kind of fight or flight mode kicks in, your body, I think my body, what it does is the liver will give me a ton of glucose and my blood sugar will increase. So if I do sit down and play poker, even with friends, just on a social weekend, I have to take a bit more insulin to manage that, which is an interesting one. Again, like everything else, have I got it licked? Do I understand it? No. Do I manage it correctly every time? No. Is it a challenge? Yes. I think to a certain extent, being home at the moment, being with the kids and with my family and being in one place, I mean, I'm finding that quite difficult. One of the major things that I did today again and is I went and trained, and I went and plodded around the road, had a little run out, not very far, a couple of kilometres, 2 or 3 kilometres, wasn't far at all, but it just clears the mind. It just gets you out of the, I find if I'm in the car, if I travel from Surrey back to Herne Bay and it takes me an hour and a quarter, my blood sugars will increase because I haven't moved. So I find I have to move around. I have to get up every sort of half an hour, go for a little walk, generally to go and get coffee. So yeah, that's the problem with trying to control blood sugars. It's ever so difficult. Today, even though yesterday I had 99%, today was a completely different day, as per usual. Granted, I did get to bed very late last night. I was working awfully late. At the moment, it is 5 past 11, so almost exactly the same time as when I started the video yesterday. The only problem is I had quite a bit to do after recording the vlog yesterday. So today's results. Let's go through it. Started the day at 3:51. I didn't get up. I was asleep, but I woke up. 3:51. Took my blood. You can see on the left hand of the screen, I've got the CGM. So the CGM and the blood glucose, I always like to compare them because you have to calibrate the continual blood glucose monitoring system. I like to make sure it's not too far out, and if it is, there's a bit of a problem. So 7.3 and 7.4 is fine, but strangely that went down to 3.9 and 4.2 at 5:34 a.m. so it appears like I'm taking a bit too much background insulin at that time, so I'll test that again tomorrow. 10 past 8, it was still at 4.4, so that was pretty level to 5:30, so 2.5 hours later. I took half a jelly baby then to bring me up a bit. Interestingly, clearly I'm not taking enough background insulin between 8 and 10 because my blood went up to 7.9 from 4.4, and that shouldn't happen on 2 grams of carbs. Had breakfast at 10:30, omelette, half an avocado, 20 grams of carbs. Clearly I overestimated the carbs because my blood went down to 3.7. Blood went up to 5.6 at 3 o'clock, but in between that I did have my lunch at 1:30, 2 poached eggs, watercress, rocket, lettuce, bacon, olives, keto bread, 15 grams, nice lunch. Again, to a certain extent, there's eggs in there, there's omelette in breakfast, there's avocado, there's keto bread, which has a lot of eggs in as well. So under the whole food plant-based, that would not qualify, and it wouldn't work. There's too much fat in the eggs. So again, we were going to talk about insulin resistance. We'll do that at a different time. But the more fat within the eggs, the more fat within meat, the less resistant I am to insulin. People are to insulin. What I've got here is after lunch. You can see my blood, 3 o'clock was fine, 5.6, but at 8 o'clock was 3.6. So strangely, it just went a bit mental in the middle of the day and I overcorrected again. So I will show you a 12-hour graph. So can you see at about 6 o'clock whether it will, right, 6 o'clock, can you see that big increase right in the middle where it says 18? That messed me up. So I overcorrected and clearly it brought me low again, which seems to happen relatively often, but I think I panicked again when it was going high. That's not ideal, but it is what it is. So down at 3.6 again, took some jelly babies, waited about an hour, it was on its way up, so I went for a workout downstairs. I did the program called, I'm just looking on the Phoenix site again, and this is the week 1 requirements to do something called a front lever. That is a front lever. Haven't been able to do one of them yet, of course. So the workout requirements are a hanging L sit, a hanging high knee raise, an L sit pull up, and an upside down deadlift. All on there. The upside down deadlift is mental. Very, very difficult. And then for dinner, I had vegan sausages, cauliflower mash, and cabbage, 20 grams of carbs. Now, I'm pretty sure vegan sausages are probably frowned upon in the vegan community. I have no idea, to be brutally honest, but I quite like them. Yes, it's not meat. Yes, they're relatively low carb. So actually for me at the moment it's fine. I'll do a bit of research on when I'll go onto the plant-based whole food diet and find out what the view is on that. I don't know how militant I'm going to be on that kind of diet, but let's see. So overall today I've had 57 grams of carbs all day, okay, which actually is quite a big day for me. As you can see, I had omelette and avocado for breakfast. Normally I wouldn't have the avocado with it, but I thought I'd try. Highs and lows, I have the low was 3.6, the high was 7.9, so the average is 5.4 for the day, which as an average sounds great. Yeah, 5.4. If you had an average of 5.4, you would be standard person with no diabetes. You remember yesterday where I said if you had a level of 2 and a level of 9, your average would be 5.5, and that's why I wasn't mad about the HbA1c as a standalone being a gauge of how well you are in control of your blood sugars. Today is a prime example. You take an average of today, everything's great, everything's fine and dandy, but the reality is that's not the case. So let's look at the very next one, which shows that in reality I was within limits 83% of the time. Now that sounds all right, or I say it sounds all right. It's not all right. You know, the reality is below the low limit, which is below 5, 17%. What I look for is anywhere between 5 and preferably probably 8 to 9 at most. I don't really want to be up at that level, and as you can tell, I'm not very often. But 83% within range is not good at all. And if you compare, I haven't done a lot different to yesterday, and yesterday I was 99% within range and feeling a bit better about myself. Now I did manage to obviously get out and do the running and do the workout again. I don't feel horrendous, But overall, it's not great being low, and that is the knock-on effect and the downside of going low carb is if you're not really on top of it and sort of micromanaging it every second of the day, you can find yourself going low a little bit too often. Now, I'm quite used to being low at times. I just need to be careful with driving and things like that, which obviously I always am. Okay, so I think I'll probably leave it there today. We'll have more of a discussion about ketogenic and why I'm ketogenic and how I'm ketogenic in the next couple of days. I hope you keep well, keep safe tomorrow, make sure you get out and do some exercise. I'm going to do it again and go out and do some more bits. I want to spend a bit more time with the kids tomorrow. I've been stuck in front of the computer yet again today for the vast majority of the day and the evening. Look after yourselves, guys. Thanks.